Hi, I'm Nate Parke. I'm the head chair of Undelc. My vice chairs are Kendra and Joanne, and our topics are common but differentiated responsibility and compensatory mitigation in a global context. I chose this committee because Undelc is really a unique body within the United Nations. It's a environmental law committee that formulates conventions and environmental law that countries across the world can adopt as their own, as well as setting standards that countries should follow when they're dealing with environmental issues. And I felt as though I had a very good understanding of one of these topics before going into this, so it gave me the initial inspiration to follow one of these topics, which is compensatory mitigation in global context. And the other topic was actually brought up to me by Kendra, and she had taken a class on this, and so it was a great kind of fit into sort of this discussion that is to be had about environmental convention and environmental law. So I worked for the Nature Conservancy last spring on a project that had to do with compensatory mitigation banking within the United States. So that gave me a good understanding of how compensatory mitigation works and a good introduction on the economies that can be created out of compensatory mitigation banking. So that really was the inspiration behind wanting to go into an environmental topic this year in Bmun. And because of that, I wanted to take this and run with it and see if we could expand compensatory mitigation into a global context, which is the reasoning for the first topic. The second topic, it's highly relevant with the Paris conference being recently held, and common but differentiated responsibility is really a discussion that needs to be had before countries consider moving on into an environmental age where we really put environment as the forefront of national policies. So I think it's highly relevant to the next 10, 15 years because there's a lot of discussions to be had about what countries are going to be doing to save the environment, to help the environment prosper for many years to come. Yeah, so Undelc, because it's not an actual General Assembly committee, we're planning on doing a lot of interesting things. There's basically two different roles that the Undelc plays in the discussion of environmental policy, and that is basically write opinions on environmental actions that are done in a global scope. So these are basically referendums and requests for comments in the international community that Undelc writes, and then countries can read those and understand a little bit more about different policies that are going on throughout the world. So that's kind of one side of things. The other side is more actionable, and that's writing actual legislation that can be adopted by the General Assembly as well as countries throughout the world. And these are more kind of rigid legislative guidelines that countries can follow. So I think we're going to try to pursue both of those in committee, where people that are more interested in research and kind of discovering more sort of interesting things that are going on in an environmental space can do the first option. And the second option will be for people that kind of like that traditional model United Nations sort of route of actually writing legislation and passing laws. Read the topic synopsis and try to do as much reading on background cases of both of these topics as you can, because I think that these are both things that can really be learned through examples of like where they've been implemented before. And there's a lot of literature out there both on common but differentiated responsibility and compensatory mitigation, because they are relatively founded topics in the space. And also like explore nature, go out for hikes, really gain an appreciation for why these policies are out there and why we need to be creating actionable items out of these two topics. Very excited.